With the arrival of 2.4's second half alongside the rest of the story, we finally got our hands on the fiery gladiator that absolutely stole the show throughout both halves of the Septimon arc. Lupa, the second limited resonator of 2.4, makes an explosive debut with incredible animations, beautiful synergies with her complementary teams, and a holy yeah that made me wanna. Got a little carried away there. I just really like Lupa. Tail gotta go though, not gonna lie. But that being said, after tons of hype and speculation, people have been nothing short of ecstatic to slap her on a team. With her insane buffing to fusion damage dealers, her universal and team-wide attack buffs, and her outro that buffs both fusion and basic attack, Changli Brandhavers were frothing at the mouth for their new main DP. Wait, what? What do you mean she's not? But everyone was saying, look at the numbers. What do you mean the numbers? They're... Oh, fuck. Yeah, she's not a main DPS. Yeah, honestly, my bad on this one. Y'all, my dumbass didn't look at the very clear skill detail buttons. That would have been enough to let us know that this is probably not a main DPS. But hey, other people thought so too, okay? That being said, let me set the record straight and correct myself from my last video talking about Lupa. Lupa is not a main DPS. She is more so a sub DPS, or supporting character. Emphasis on support, not healer. If you're familiar with PGR, she's more akin to an amplifier character, whose main purpose is to simply supercharge the rest of the team, while also contributing some damage herself. And that's nice. But of course, a lot of people feel that Lupa was a bait and a poorly designed unit just to make a quick buck. Now, this isn't a situation of people bitching for no reason. I mean, I'm sure some are, but I do think the whole Lupa situation is kind of interesting because I truly do think that no one here is necessarily in the right or the wrong. It's all about the frame of mind. So let's talk about it. Starting with why people are upset. Like I mentioned, Lupa is a sub DPS with insane supporting capabilities. She's not a healer, that's Brand's job. And she's not a main DPS, that's also Brand's job. Okay, this team is literally just a bunch of freaks that want to do everything all at the same time while asking you to play DDR with your fingers, and you know what? I like that shit. And honestly, she's still a super fun character to play. She fits perfectly as a quick swap unit. She has really flashy animations that flow very nicely. Her rotation is visually satisfying, and since her buffs are team-wide and don't run out on switch, you aren't forced to play the team so linearly, aside from outro buffs. As a team, she's a perfect addition that does her job well. The problem is just that people thought she had a different job. People assumed she'd be the main DPS, the hyper carry, the heavy lifter in terms of damage. And then you look at her damage numbers and well, yeah, ooh. And then you look at her damage modifiers and it all makes sense. Yeah, she was never meant to be a main DPS. Or was she? See, while it might not be a law, it's definitely like an unwritten rule. Usually, character roles are a reflection of their personality or other character traits. You look at characters like Natsu and Luffy and you immediately understand that they are brawlers. You look at characters like Spider-Man and Sonic and you understand that their strong suit is their agility. Then you look at characters like Wrotsley and Gion and you just know they're some heavy hitters. And that runs true for a lot of Wuwa characters. You look at Verena and you automatically think support. You look at Jeja and you probably aren't thinking main DPS or healer. While Wuwa has definitely gone down the route of don't judge a book by its cover when it comes to predictable elements, Shorekeeper comes to mind. The personality of said characters also usually align with their role. Jeja is a shy and subdued character until she finally gains the courage to stand up for herself. Definitely not main DPS traits, but looking at her kit and the way she behaves, you can get the idea that she could pull her weight and wants to help. Verena has flower motifs and her personality is bubbly and bright, so you automatically think of nature and healing properties. Now that being said, Camellia and Frolova also have flower motifs, but the tonal shift from Verena to Camellia is, well, I think you can see the difference. And Frolova, well, she doesn't seem very interested in healing anything, and she has a little too much main character syndrome to be a sub DPS. And if you think these are just vague assumptions, well, yes, they kinda are. But unless you're a filthy leak watcher, just kidding, I don't care what y'all do, just don't tell me. It's kinda all we have to go with. Point is, you can loosely, emphasis on loosely, get an idea of what a character's role would be in a game. And a lot of people, and I mean a lot of people, including me, kinda thought that this girl...
You didn't honestly think I was going down like that, did you? Impossible. How did it wear up so fast? This match was over the moment it began!
would be a main DPS. And honestly, can you blame us? Let's see. She's a reigning champion as a gladiator in the region that prides itself on fighting till the death, and her personality? This girl is insane. Like, terrifyingly insane. Super hot though. Bro, just look at her convene animation.
Oh, is a new match calling?
Did I just want to show you how cool it is? No, that's not the only reason, but it partly is. Fuck off. You clicked the video, you know what you were getting into. But the point is, you can't really blame someone for thinking that this character would be a main DPS. Even throughout the story, you could tell she's a passionate warrior that loves the thrill of the fight. She's a team player that never leaves her comrades behind. Even when they aren't picking up their slack, fuck you Albedo, we smoke it out Albedo pack all day! Anyway, even her first introduction screams aggressive.
Think you can keep me from fighting? Careful now! We'll see who rips whose throat out first.
And that's just her personality. You look at her kit and... Okay, Kuro, please, like, hire someone. I'll do it for free, please. Her kit has specific timings of commands, different two-part skills that turn into enhanced skills, multiple resources to manage, an enhanced intro skill that changes post-rotation, and a combo that takes you from the ground to the air and then back to the ground. This character is like straight out of a
fighting games.
Thank you, EO. This character has insane presence, both in the story and the actual battlefield through her gameplay. She has that oomph that would make her a sick main DPS. But that's not what Kuro had in mind. Let's level ourselves here. A lot of people play these RPG, stat grinding, character collecting games for a couple reasons. One, fan service. People want to see boobs, people want to see ass, people want to see abs. It's all the same. People love a good old gooning session, don't matter which way you swing. But second, to fulfill a power fantasy. These characters, ranging from Yanwu to Kartethia, are otherworldly beings with powers beyond our reality. Whether it's conjuring up an infinite number of blades, or manipulating the elements, or having mythical creatures acting as literal aspects. People want to play characters that have so much power to not only level cities, but to also fire off those dopamine signals in your head. If you think about what the most popular roles are in games such as Overwatch, League, and even MMOs like Final Fantasy XIV or World of Warcraft, it's typically DPS. They like dealing the damage, they like seeing that health bar get absolutely chunked, they like seeing one-shots in enormous numbers, and nothing better displays that than large pretty fonts and insane displays of power, which is why...
My blade! Purge all evil!
Yeah, absolutely insane. The game developers know that's what people want. It's why we see characters like Finon and Fleur-de-Lis constantly pushing that animation barrier. It's why combos in Genshin have gone from this to this. And it's why Lupa's basic attacks and the fusion team's rotation can be written as a fucking Tekken combo. Good god, Goji, put your coding homework away. But sadly, Lupa only fulfills one part of this power fantasy. Her combos are fast, flashy, in your face, and incredible to watch. But those numbers are not it. All that work, all that effort, all that pizzazz just for suboptimal normals, somewhat eyebrow-raising ultimates, and almost lackluster forte? They certainly aren't competing with Chang Li and Brand's numbers. It just doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't feel like the character we were promised. I recently talked about how there being a disconnect between a character's presentation and how they play can be really immersion breaking. I'm sure a lot of people felt that way when it came to Lupa. people felt baited, almost tricked into pulling an idea of a character that was advertised, but never existed. And that's kind of why I don't blame people too much if they're unhappy with Lupa. But like I said, you gotta look at it for what it is. While yes, I agree that we missed out on a super sick main DPS unit, a lot of people are using this as an excuse to label her as a trash unit, which is far from the case. Her being a bad unit for you is significantly different from being a bad unit. Lupa's supporting capabilities are absolutely insane. Like, look at all this fusion damage bonus. Look at all these attack stacks. She's literally a fucking steroid from Brant, who is now dropping 400 Ks per anchor. This character is so broken. How did Kuro let this pass? She is providing an insane amount of support and buffs to the entire team, essentially taking the role of a fusion shorekeeper, just without the healing, and significantly more fun to play. And it's noticeable. My Chang Li is reaching 400k per rotation. My Brant is hitting insane numbers on just his basic attacks. And she even hops in as a follow-up to add even more damage. And while her teams are pretty limited to fusion characters, unless you get S3, gotcha game moment, her value will definitely skyrocket with the introduction of more fusion resonators. This character by no means is bad at all. And then, if you take a closer look, you realize that she still does fit the character that was portrayed. Lupa is a selfless warrior that hides her inner turmoil because of, quite literally, her love of the game. She's relentless and unwavering. She fights for her comrades and puts it all on the line for victory, and like a true Septimontian, believes that the only fate worse than death is failure. She is the epitome of a team player, all the way down to the fact that she waves a banner tied to her weapon, really symbolizing that no matter what, it's never just Lupa who's fighting. A fair comparison I would like to make is to Gion, who is literally a general, a literal leader for his team. But if you look at this picture, yeah, no, Gion's the reason these B-listers didn't get folded. And you could really see that idea of her character being realized through the insane quick swap gameplay, where you could really just swap in and out and Lupa is always coming in with intensity. And it truly feels like the entire team is in the battle simultaneously. And then you start to think, did they specifically design her playstyle in a way to emulate the gladiator fights that we were participating in throughout Septimon? Maybe I'm giving them too much credit, but I think it's definitely something worth thinking about. She fights throughout the story for the sake of Rover and Cartethia, who are risking it all for her to change the fate of her homeland. And hell, when you think about it, next to Rover and Cartethia, she might just be the weakest one in that trio. But she's forging onwards for Rover, for Cartethia, for Mia, and for all of Septimon. And by the end of the story, she is fighting on her own, but for everyone else and with everyone's support. And you want to know what's kind of interesting? When you finish your rotation with Brant and Chang Li, or Encore and Chisha, whatever the case may be, you want to know what happens? You go right back to Lupa and she comes in like an absolute fucking nuke. Just like in the Resonator showcase, the longer the fight goes on, the crazier Lupa gets. Her damage is significantly amped, and she truly does feel like a cohesive part of this team, which I think is really cool to see. A lot of team synergies are solely based off of numbers, like Tao Chi being an incredible buffer to Carlotta. But when you play the two together, they don't really mesh like glue. They have very significantly different playstyles. Lupa, however, feels so smooth to play alongside Brant and Chang Li, and while also having the numbers to support that cohesion, her as a character and the combination of the three playstyles truly make a satisfying team to both pilot and watch. If you ask me, after trying her out and taking a look at the bigger picture, Kuro really nailed the creation of a character that is not only effective at what she does, but also portrays different aspects of her characteristics and personality as well. Kuro is known for experimentation at this point. Sometimes they nail it, sometimes they flop, but you always know that they're going to improve upon it the next time they try. Lupa is still an incredibly fun character to play, surprisingly accurate despite what people originally thought. So let me know, Are you still disappointed in the fact that she isn't the main DPS? Are you more pleasantly surprised with the way she's turned out? Or did you just skip it and not care and just enjoy her presence in the story? While I will admit, I'm still a little disappointed she's not the insane, crazy, hyper carry player I expected. I'm more than impressed with her being a more proactive support who has a fun playstyle. Much more interesting than click, 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 hold, click, E, R swap. I look forward to seeing how Kuro continues to innovate and think outside the box. And I only hope we try our best to be more open-minded when it comes to characters like Lupa. And I also hope Kuro shows a little more transparency when revealing these characters and their role. Did I just white knight for a fictional character?